Good Monday morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, we have a lot to cover on Author Talk. So let's dive into it. I'm Aimee. We're here with Sandy, Russell, and Bjorn as our lovely author guests today. So you guys, I know Russell's dying, and I'm sure everybody else that has been on my house journey with me is dying to know. Today is closing day. I have made it to closing day. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's not to say that it is not.
Are there any accidents along the way that you've had to instigate or anything in this trip of yours?
Oh, Sandy girl. Okay. So here we go. On Friday, right? I closed today at 1:00. On Friday, I'm slow on my end. Okay. On Friday, I get a phone call from my project manager. Okay. So the glass for my showers and everything has been installed. The people that installed it somehow magically forgot my mirrors. So hopefully,
I told you.
Hopefully my mirrors are in when I do my walkthrough at noon. Me and Josh did go yesterday. Okay, food for thought here. We went yesterday after the pressure washer was supposed to be there, and somehow there is a fresh oil stain on my driveway, which just really irks me. I am OCD in certain areas, and that is one. I like pristine cleanness on new things. If it's not new, I get it, but new things I like pristine. So there was that, and then upstairs on my brand new carpet, there is paint from where they touched up my door. So needless to say, I am crossing all my fingers. I'm going to braid my hair, and I'm just going to sing Kumbaya and Puppies and Rainbows today when I go to sign all these documents and my life away, because I'm praying to God that these things are updated, because Russell earlier called me very soothing, and I'm not going to be soothing at noon. So hopefully we're all
They're going to try. And so what did they say to try to either bully you? And I know they didn't try it at this late stage, but try to ease you in to going ahead and signing everything. And they promise later they'll eventually get to fixing whatever problem you have.
Well, so one of my biggest ones is the grass that they've installed in my yard, right? Which, it makes sense. We've been hit or miss with rain. So if Dallas gets rain, we get rain, right? And so we have been hit and miss with a lot of rain. And when it rains, they have to regrade my yard before they can put the grass down. So some of my grass is brown and patchy, and it's supposed to be better in a week, which my project manager is also very leery of. So we have the agreement that if it is not better, they are ripping it all up and giving me new grass. That is the verbal agreement that I also have in an email, because your girl has to have stuff in writing. Okay.
Okay.
That's yeah. And then on top of that, he is aware of all of the things that did not get finished. And he did tell me that usually there's like one or two contractors that kind of half-ass it. And I ended up getting 4 to 5. And I'm sure that's because I went every day and they knew who the hell I was. And if something wasn't right, you bet you that this girl was on the phone or texting people, letting them know, hey, this isn't right. Please don't continue. So I'm probably not their favorite person. Okay. So in that exchange, stuff is still getting done today. And it probably might still get done some throughout this week, is what I was told. But homegirl, which is what I call ghetto Aimee, when non-soothing Aimee has to come out, business Aimee has to come out, is not down for that. So they have till the end of today to finish everything, because I am moving tomorrow. I have movers arranged. I have my appliances going in, and I have my internet going in, which that has.
We're not going to see Ghetto Aimee in the next 40 minutes, though, right?
No, not in the next 40 minutes. Okay. But it is one of those things. So it was a fun conversation. My project manager is just as pissed as I am, which brings me comfort. And they have been really good about fixing things and honoring those things. So they have been good about that. So I can't complain about my builder. They have been really good. It's just some of their contractors that they are working with are half-assing it. And as someone that can't do that, it's really hard to tolerate that. So I'm glad I'm not project managing this. And so I'm just looking forward to moving forward after today. So that's my weekend in a nutshell. My sister's coming up to help me with my kids today while I go and sign in to see the house, and I'm going to move a couple things over that are kind of awkward to move. She's going to help me do that. So that's, fun and exciting. And it's just, this week is going to be a super busy week that we've been preparing for. And that's why my screen is up. But next week, you guys, we will be in my new office with a new paint color. And it's going to be wonderful. And we'll just see how it's set up, right? But I know that you all did some pretty cool stuff this weekend. So, Sandy, do you want to talk about your weekend before we lead into Russell over there?
Of course I do. I had the most amazing, at times, weekend, and other times, 4 people spending 5 days in adjoining rooms can get on each other's nerves every now and then, I found out.
Say it isn't so. No.
So, Bjorn, I'll let you know, I took my 2 granddaughters and my sister, and we went on a trip to New York City for a long weekend. They had never been. My sister had been years ago. I went every year for quite a while to the Book Expo America when it was at the Javits Center. So I knew the Javits Center. I knew that area, but I had never done the typical, the typical tourist kind of stuff. I had never been to the top of the Empire State Building. Still haven't, but I do want to someday. But they all were horrified at the fact that it was going to cost us $50 each to ride the elevator to the top.
Did you go to the Statue of Liberty? I feel like that's the ultimate tourist thing.
We did not go to the Statue of Liberty. We went to walking things. I have walked so many places. We did on Friday do one of the tour buses. So I asked everybody before we went, tell me one thing that is your priority for the weekend that you want to make sure you do. And we'll get all those done, and then we'll do as many other things as possible. So we did that. I wanted to go to Central Park. I love the idea of Central Park. I love on taking a cruise. I love those ships that have a Central Park on them. I love Central Park. But I had never been inside Central Park to walk around. So that's what I wanted to do. So we did that. Did not realize how up and downhill it is. No level ground that I saw inside Central Park. And it started this torrential downpour. Now, I knew ahead of time it might rain on Thursday, so I bought a raincoat. It was from Amazon, delivered to me that morning. I carried it on the plane. I carried it everywhere. No rain in sight, sunshine. So we decided to go to Central Park about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I left my raincoat in the room. And then it rains, of course. But anyway, we had a wonderful time. My granddaughters had never flagged a cab before. They loved doing that. So different than, their normal get on your phone and contact Uber. So it was really fun. We did that.
Is that just where you stick your hand out and you hope someone stops?
Yep.
Oh, man, I was made for that. Okay, I need to do that. Because I would just do it for fun. I'd been like, oh, hey. And then, one would stop. It'd be a whole thing. Okay.
It was amazing how many places were to capacity. Even the Hoda store where the tennis shoes, we wanted to go buy some from the actual original store. It was filled to capacity every day until the last day, the last few minutes. But anyway, we had a wonderful time. We got to see, the big thing was we got to see the 9/11 museum. We got to walk around. We saw the Harry Potter store. We went to this place called Italy. So it was one restaurant after another. We ate, every time we ate on the rooftop. We went to a place that had a rooftop so you could look over. It was an amazing trip. We had a great time. We wanted to be home yesterday in time for them to get ready for work today. So we took a flight out at 5:30 Sunday morning. So we didn't get to bed till 11 and got up at 2, got our town car and went. So we were all pretty tired yesterday, and I'm still kind of like in a fog today. But Russell will think that's nothing unusual for me to be in a fog. So,
but she beat you to it, Russell. She beat you.
I know. That's the best time of all, when I don't have to say anything and I can still get the joke.
Oh my goodness, Russell, it's your turn to talk about your weekend.
Oh, what? Real quick. I did have one question for Sandy. What did you say about riding the elevator for $50?
That's what it costs to ride the elevator to the top of the Empire State Building. $50
Wow.
per person.
To
So
ride
we
an
didn't do that.
elevator?
I need to run an elevator.
But it has to be to go to a very. It is. There's certain things. It is I would have paid it actually because it is the most tourist attraction, the most attractive tourist attraction in the world to go to the top of the Empire State Building. But
$50 worth.
I don't know.
My granddaughters are cheap. What can I say? So we did not.
Hey, I wouldn't have paid it either. Been like to ride an elevator.
I'm with you. I wouldn't have done it. I don't like elevators, so throw that plus $50. Yeah.
So my husband gave this trip to the granddaughters, and he was supposed to go in at the last minute, took it out, and my sister went. But I called him, and I'm like, because he's paying for everything. I'm like, okay, the Empire State Building is $50 a person. They're saying that's too much, and they don't want to do it. He goes, I'm with them, so don't do it. I'm like, okay. That's all I needed. So otherwise, I was going to take his credit card and get myself to the top of the.
There you go. I like it. Russell?
I had great stuff and terrible stuff happen this weekend.
Really?
I was a guest on several podcast shows, as Aimee knows, because she got an avalanche of emails about them, before them, after them. And every time someone else would get an email, she would have to get a copy of it. So I buried her in emails this weekend.
It was great.
I was, number one, by the way, Bjorn, I am tempted, though it won't happen, to be nicer to our guests from now on, because it's a lot more nerve-wracking to be a guest on a podcast you know nothing about. You don't know anything about us. You don't know what we're going to ask, how in-depth we're going to go. And it's a lot more nerve-wracking than someone like the three of us that are on the same podcast every week. So I respect, but you have my respect. And thank you for being early so we can be organized. So I was on these podcasts. One was a Brooklyn podcast with 4 wild men from Brooklyn that fulfilled every stereotype that you could possibly make about Brooklyn dudes. And it was so funny. And we went on and on and on. And they wanted to ask me more questions about their divorces than about my book. So it was crazy.
Divorce lawyer.
Yes. In fact, all weekend, all I did, everyone wanted to talk about their divorces. That was like a main thing. I thought I was working this weekend. It felt so much. And I had a New Jersey podcast and a Maryland podcast, and they all went great. Though I got to tell you, I was nervous before they started. So my respect to you, Bjorn.
Thank you.
Each day, my wife and I play pickleball all morning, and I made the mistake of yelling at her for being in my way Sunday morning. And
you didn't. No, but you lived to tell this tale. So
I'm not. Let's not assume I'm still alive.
Well, you're
this is like this. I could be in ICU, or I could be dancing on the edge of the cliff, and she just hadn't pushed me with one finger yet.
One thing that always bothered me was AI. Are you AI, Russell? Are you AI right now?
Yeah, I might be. I might already be dead. I'm so disgusted with my own stupidity. Nevertheless, we had a great weekend. Bjorn, how was your weekend?
It was very uneventful compared to $50 elevator rides and being an AI person now. But all I did was work on the books. I got book 1 and 2 are out. 3 will be out soon. 4 is ready to go. 5, I just got back from my editor and I'm proofreading it now. 6 is going to the editor right now, and 7 I'm writing. So I got a lot going on.
So what are their names? Do you have names? What are their names?
The books,
Yeah.
Runes of the Doctor's Daughters, the first book.
Mhm.
Second book is Rune of Renewal. Then you got Rune of Destiny, the third book. Those three constitute the main body of the story. 4, 5, 6, and 7 are somewhat supplementals to the story, and they add a lot more detail and background and connections to the main story.
There you go.
So, yeah.
1, 2, 3. Three's
Yep,
out.
there they are.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a ride. I'm new to this. You guys are probably old hats, I'm sure. I just started getting into actually trying to put it out there for public opinion. So I've always wrote for myself before. So this has been quite an adventure.
Before we go on to the old hats, I would like to thank the people that are listening to.
You're calling an old hat.
Me. How's that for an answer? I want to thank the people listening to us on our podcast. Most people don't listen to us on Monday morning when we go live. They actually listen to us on our podcast channels while they're driving to work or they're working out, and we want to thank them. I never could actually find us on the podcast channels till Aimee did this project and changed everything about our podcast channel. And then even I could find us. Aimee, where was I able to find us?
I know. It was rough when Russell's like, Aimee, I can't find us. And I'm like, well, I've typed it in and we're right there. But anyways, you can find us on Amazon, Spotify, Good Pods, Apple, Google Play. Those are where I go to find us. We are everywhere else. Just type in AuthorTalk, look for the crimson, red, and gold logo, because like I always say, I was selfish and picked the 2 favorite colors that I like, and it stands out. I know Russell always gives me a hard time about that. But if you do want to watch us when we are live, we like to engage with you. So if you do want to watch us, you can come over to our Facebook group or our YouTube channel. So the running joke is I control what comes out of my mouth, but you generally know how I feel because my facial expressions say it all. And I am very animated and I talk a lot with my hands.
Like project managers, they probably know what you're really thinking about them.
Probably. That and my body language screams volumes when I'm not saying anything. And my scowl, according to Josh, will make dead people roll over. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
You're probably okay with that in this case, though, right?
Yeah, you know what? When you're buying a house, you're spending a lot of money. I want what I'm spending money on. So yes, I can be a force in some sense. But it's been a fun ride and, listening to us. But if you come on over to us, like Andrea is over here tuning in and joining us, we love to engage with you guys. So feel free to come on over there and check out any of our social media channels. We're on there. We're open books, free for all on all of those kind of platforms. But Sandy, let's get Bjorn talking about his series that he's got going on here.
And thank you for clarifying how many books you have, because I was like looking at Amazon, looking at the press release that we received from Mickey, and I'm like, okay, so which book are we talking about? We're talking about all of them today, right? We're talking about the series. So First of all, you just said the word I was going to ask you how to pronounce, and you said Doctor's Daughter?
Doctor's Daughter, yes, ma'am.
Doctor's Daughter. Well, because that does not look like what that word spells, I'll be honest. And can you pronounce your protagonist? How do you pronounce her name?
That's Mariel. That's the Old Norse spelling of Mariel.
Mariel. I would have said Marigold, I think. But Mariel. Okay, Mariel, Doctor's Daughter. What does Doctor's Daughter mean?
In the book, her father is North African. He's Moor, and he ends up in Scandinavia in 800s. And because of his dark complexion, they called him Docker, which is the Norse word for dark. And as she is his daughter, that's the Norse naming system. You're named after your father, either would be Docker's daughter or Docker's son. So that's how her name came to be, her nickname.
And daughter spelled Dottir. That's interesting. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now my next question is, where did this come from? I mean, where did you get the idea for this entire 7-book series of books?
Well, what's interesting is I started out with several. I'm interested just about everything. Everything interests me, but it's a confluence of history. I love history. That's my favorite thing. Genealogy, which a lot of my genealogy, of course, is Scandinavian. Then just archaeology, archaeological discoveries over time. And where Mariel came from particularly was, it's always been in Norse legend that females at that time had a lot more freedoms and rights, so to speak, than other parts of the world at the time. And one of those being, of course, they were a somewhat violent culture. It's a system of honor they had, but it was based on violence, which our modern mind, of course, doesn't recognize that as a good thing. But back then, that's what they did. And there was always legends that females were great warriors and held in esteem by society, their society as well. But it was always folklore. There was never any real scientific evidence that said that was true until not long ago. A Viking mound that was found in England was reevaluated. It was they excavated in the 60s, but they just really looked at it closely recently and found out the skeleton they found, who was a warrior, a warrior chieftain from Scandinavia, was actually female, not male. They always thought it was a male. So you got, basically Mariel was born of all these interests and these little scientific discoveries that popped up, and she's very much an anomaly. When you read the story, she's got a supernatural power in her, which automatically sets her out. She's not your stereotypical blonde hair, blue eyed Viking male. She's a dark skinned female, and she's got a very interesting character. I really wanted to make her unique, so I made her very complicated. She's got a lot of quirks and weirdness, but she's very endearing at the same time.
I can't wait to read about this. And I don't know, my husband loves Norse mythology, and everything around our house is named Valhalla or
right.
So,
except that weasel dog of yours.
That weasel. All of our dogs are named after physicists. So our weasel dog is named Dinger, but it's really Schrodinger is what his name is. So
I have 4 goats named after Irish beer.
I'm team that.
Our dogs are much more intelligent than that. So I love the whole idea. I love that. And I was reading about it. I also read a Q&A that you did for a blog. I don't know how long ago or when you did that, but I was reading that earlier. And that was very interesting as well. Q&A with Bjorn Leesson. New information about upcoming book-related news. Lots of great stuff in there. I really did. Could have made my whole questionnaire, my whole interview to you about this blog. But so this is the general idea. Do you have that kind of background? Is your background Scandinavian or Swedish or?
Yeah, a lot of my family ties are back from Scandinavia. I found out a lot of that from 23andMe, actually, that showed not just the ones I already knew, but even my English lines originally came from Scandinavia as well. So it just kind of really interesting to me that I had that much in my background.
That's great. So I love that. So you said earlier you did a lot of genealogy study and when you were doing the books, and so that's where a lot of this came out.
Yep, that's where a lot of the interest in it came. I love history of all types, all ages, all societies, but I kind of focused on the Norse for the book because that's what was going on with the genealogy study at the time. So it kind of all fit together.
Now, what is the word runes? What does that mean?
It's a type of writing that they had. It's line runes. So instead of like our alphabet A, it's the same thing but just a different alignment of the letters. It's just Norse writing system.
Oh wow, I love that. So you named your whole books and everything are named after the Norse way of writing and doing things. So
right, yeah.
I love that. So runes, so that would be like the stories of the Doctor's Daughter.
Right. Yep. It's the sagas, so to speak. That's what the Vikings called their stories, was sagas. But yeah.
Oh, Sagas of the Ducket's Daughter. Okay, and then so that was the first book. Book 2, Rune of Renewal. That's the one that just came out in April.
Yes, that's the one. Yep.
Okay, so so what happens to how do you pronounce her name again? I'm sorry.
Mariel. Yeah.
Mariel. So thank you, because I look at the name and it does not sound like Mariel. Okay,
Right.
so what happens to Mariel in book 2?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Book 1 primarily is set in Norse times, and it's not all in Scandinavia. It's in Norse times, but some of it is when they moved to England. Well, back then it's
days then.
Yeah, but the end of book 1, there's a big change of time and place, and I don't want to give too much away. But she ends up somewhere fully removed from Scandinavia in the Viking Age.
You said book there was time travel, right? So
yeah, it is. Yep. And in book 2, it does it yet again. She ends up even farther removed from her origins, and it just takes on a life of its own. She carries through her Viking background the whole time. I mean, obviously that's how she was raised. So she carries it through the whole time and uses it to her advantage in order to adapt to all the new places and time she finds herself in.
Okay, so Rune of Renewal. So that's book 2. That's the one that, according to Amazon, says you get it before Father's Day. So
right.
Great idea for me to get for my husband, since he loves this stuff. And I like reading about it. I think it's very interesting, some of the stories. And I love the way you've taken the whole language of the Norse people and rune instead of writings of, or something like that. So that's
right.
How did you come up with that, to do it like that?
I don't know. It was just I just wanted to keep kind of a background, it as you read the stories, if you go through all 7 books, there's a lot of different changes of backgrounds, and I wanted to kind of keep a constant theme. I wanted to keep something as a backdrop that was constant throughout all of them, and it was her and her origins back in Scandinavian times.
Wow, that's great. I love that. So the stories and what happens to her and all that goes on in your books. 7 books. That's a lot. That's a lot of writing. 7 books.
Yeah.
So where do you get the ideas for the stories?
Basically, I just take everything I've ever wanted to put in a story and find a way to make it work in this story. That's really the only way I could explain it.
That's a very honest answer, Bjorn.
Right.
So you didn't come up with some of these things from doing the genealogy research or anything like that, and find out some of your family had been involved in any of this?
No, not so much. A little bit of it. I do have like there's not in the original books that are out now, but in a future book coming, there's some Civil War era things that go on too, and I do have some genealogy on that. So mine didn't per se play a part in it, other than the location. But
okay, and you said she has some paranormal abilities. Is that right? So
yeah, she's got some supernatural powers in her.
Supernatural powers.
Okay. That's part of her struggle, is learning how to control it, because it's not like a lot of shows or books you might read where, okay, she can read minds and she can control that. This is not very easily controlled, and it's very destructive if she doesn't control it. So it's a struggle for her.
Too much away to tell us what her supernatural power is, then.
I don't want to give that away. That's something that's pivotal to the story.
Way to stick to your guns, Bjorn. Way to just be like, no, we're not doing it.
I was waiting for him to trip over that bump that Sandy said. I was like, good job, Sandy. Let's see if he trips.
No.
I do have a couple of questions. May I ask Sandy?
Of course, Russell.
Okay. This is something that every writer has to deal with, and I'm dying to ask this because Sandy keeps stumbling over these names, which all of us will if we're an American readers.
Yeah.
So when how much of a dialect did you put in your dialogue in the book, and how much did you soothe it into normal modern English?
Very good
Which
question.
one did you do? Because
I
did
had
you do it the way your mind, your heart actually was telling you to do it, which was completely in a dialect? Or did you do it the way you're told to do it by your editor, which is hint it, but don't put too much in it? And by the way, I say that with hate to editors. So go ahead.
actually I put a lot of thought into that for the very reason you said.
Right, because we hate
The only
editors and they tell you not to
no,
do
no, no, no,
what's in
not
your
that part.
heart.
I love my editor.
Oh,
That ain't it. No, no. I'm talking about the writing of like how the dialogue goes. I put it modern English. I do use a lot of old English words, but they're still usable or understandable to us now. And really, the only thing that I would see as being a tripping point for people like Sandy trying to figure out Doctor's Daughter is the names. The names are very odd. And in fact, Aimee and I talked one time about the possibility of doing audiobooks, and there's AI that'll do it, but there is no friggin' way the AI is going to get these names right. So that's going to be a big challenge if we
but
ever try to go down that.
AI is getting very good very quickly with audiobooks. They're improving quickly.
Right.
But yeah, you
They're not
probably
going to
can't
figure
do it.
out a lot of these names. No.
No, you'll have them turn Bjorn into Bjorn or something. It's
Oh yeah.
bizarre. Okay,
Well, I know when
I have another important question.
okay.
What is your overlying theme that you're working on these books? What are you really working on?
I think if you were to boil it all the way down, there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of story arcs. It's almost, I feel like I almost put too many in, but if you really boil it all the way down, it's good versus evil, just like most stories are. That's what it all comes down to. It's the dark versus the light, and this young lady, Mariel, she ends up being the spearhead that leads this great battle.
So is it Star Wars dark versus the light, or is it Nietzsche dark versus the light?
No, it's spiritual. It's if
So
you
it's
wanted
not
to put it
Nietzsche.
well, if you wanted to put it in a Christian frame set, which it's not, there is Christianity in it. There's several religions in it, but if you put it as stage it up as Christianity, it's God versus Satan. For the most, I mean, that's the simplest way to boil it down, with a whole
Okay.
lot of curveballs thrown in.
I was going to say, that's really simple because you throw curveballs like left and right. Okay. Like it's a great ride though. I do.
It is very, very complicated story. I think. Do you agree, Aimee? You've read some of it at least.
I've started taking notes, when I'm reading just to kind of keep things straight, but that's typical with your genre that you're writing in. So, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm not your target reader at all. I'm like Russell's target. I like psychological thrillers, really mess me up in the head, and to really gory, we're getting aggression out. That's Aimee's.
You will love book 5 and book 6 and book 7 when they come out, because there's a lot of it. A lot of it in there.
Yeah, I'm excited to get there, and it makes me sound really, I don't know, deranged, I guess. But those are my happy reads. Like I can't read like romance happy and we're going to Paris. Like I can't. If it's a romance, it's got to be like a mafia. We're slitting throats over here, kidnapping people. Like I gotta have something. I can't do. And so your book delivers that for me in a genre I never would pick up. So it's a fun.
Oh, you're gonna like the future ones then.
Yeah,
you're gonna like them.
I'm excited for it. It's a fun. You really blended some genres together really nicely when I was reading them, which it can be very difficult to do because you do have like Norse Viking era mixed with the supernatural blending into time travel, right? And so to blend those together in a very elegant way where it's not like all over the place and disjointed can be very challenging to blend those genres. So that's where you and your editor did a great job. And you don't have a love-hate relationship with your editor. Russell tends to have love-hate relationships with his editors. So,
No, I very much love my editor. I'm glad I picked her. She's Angela Flores. She's a very, very good editor, and I really enjoy working with her.
Yeah. No,
this is a nice man.
Andrea.
This is a nice man.
It is.
Our guest is a nice man today. And there, now we know she's actually listening to you now. That's why you said that.
Yeah, I talked to her about it. No, I had talked to her about you coming on and stuff. But yeah, see, you have a very like female led, and so I can only imagine like those battle scenes because I don't know. I tend to just picture them like me, and it's like, what would Aimee do? And it's like, oh, my aggression is out. It'd be great. It would.
Well, what really you mentioned the female lead aspect. I never intended for that to go that way, but I'm glad it did because I cannot imagine any character I've written so far being the other sex. It just male or female. It just won't work. But what's cool as I went along, I've always liked badass female lead characters. I just always have. Don't know why. I just do. Maybe it's the underdog thing. In our modern society, a Viking warrior is not a female, but in this book, she is quite a badass female. And then there's another character that comes up in book 4 that she has a whole book about her is Ingrid. And she is even more impressive from that aspect that Mariel is. So it just kept building, and I just really enjoyed it. So I just kept going with it. A lot of the female characters are leads in this.
Okay, this must say something psychologically different about you and I, because that's good. And in my books, and I did not realize this either until after I've gone through several books, all my antagonists are women. None of my protagonists are women. So there's something wrong, damaged about me, I guess, and something good about you.
Now, there is a blend in mine. There's a lot of supporting male leads that are quote unquote the good guys, and then there's a lot of females that are quote unquote the bad guys. So I did consciously try to make it what I perceive as real world. So I feel like I did pretty good at it. I just hope more readers feel the same way.
Yeah. See, it gives me so I watched the Netflix series, The Last Kingdom, which had kind of the Norse Viking era kind of subtly was tied into that. And there were some badass woman kind of Vikings in that, or like that. What were they? The pagans, I guess, is what they more were. And there were some badass ones that weren't afraid to take like an axe and just throw it across, and they were nailing it, right? So I'm a huge, I don't know. There's just something about it. Like when a man does it, it's fabulous. When a woman does it, you're just like, hell yeah. I don't know. There's just something about it, because it's like unexpected. You wouldn't expect that. So it's a nice kind of like refresh in there. So sorry, Sandy, continue. Me and Bjorn can go on.
I'm learning from this. I think this is great. So where are you located, Bjorn?
I'm in the Midlands of South Carolina, around Columbia.
And how do you know Andrea?
Well, what's funny is as I said earlier, I'm completely new to this. I had absolutely no comprehension of what the hell to even begin with this. So I wrote the first 2 books before I even thought about putting them out there at all. And I foolishly, I'm sure Aimee will agree, I foolishly tried to self-publish the first 2 and I failed miserably. So I decided to reach out for help. And part of that was getting an editor involved. And I have no magic answer. I just happened to land on her link and I said, well, this sounds good. Let's try this one.
Well, and
it was a stroke of luck is all it was. I may have been more like Russell if I'd have picked somebody else and hated them, but I'm glad I picked who I picked.
I think that's awesome.
No, I would have hated anybody.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship.
It's as one of our listeners posted, there's some psychoanalysis in that. Yes, that's more a problem with me than any editor I've had.
But some people just don't like their work to be edited. They like it to be the way they said it.
And that's not me. I beg for any improvement somebody would offer because I know I feel like I do well, but I can do better. And there's a lot of good to put out there.
Yeah, no, because in working with clients for the last 20 something years, with so many of them had their own. I've got this person. She's a school teacher. She knows what she's doing, and she's edited it. And I look at it, and I'm like, they don't realize. A lot of authors don't realize how much that can hurt your book sales if your book just has so many errors, blatant errors, and all kind of things that you just don't know. And nobody knows all that except people that do it on a regular basis, that do it for a living, actually, and it's their business.
Right.
They have to be up to date with all the latest and greatest stuff. So, Andrea, so glad to see you on here. Oh, we love Andrea. So, okay. So, while you guys were talking, I was looking over some more of this interview that you did, which was the blog. Do you know which one I'm talking about? That you wrote down. It's a written interview that you wrote down the questions, and one of them was asking you, what if your books were turned into a movie? So, what are your future plans for the book? You want to get them published. You want it done right. We got that. You got the editor,
Right.
Andrea. Congratulations, all that. So now what?
As Angela and I, or Andrea and I have discussed this before early on, but I said my unicorn and fairy dust type dream is to see it on film. I really, really would like to see it on film. I think just the depth of the story, the characters, the way they're written, just I would call it the real life feel of it all. Yes, it's got supernatural craziness involved, but it's still something you can envision actually really happening. And I would love to see that on film. I think it would be awesome. But that would be the end game. But right now, I just wanted to get it out there and get some good feedback. I mean, is it good? Is it not good? I feel like it's good, but I wrote it. I'm kind of biased.
So you want to definitely get some reviews. I know all of that, and I know that with Aimee working with you and Mickey and everybody, you're going to do great. You're in great hands, especially with Andrea doing the editing. So, if just a suggestion, then when you get ready to start marketing it, you might want to make sure that you compare it to some of these other. Like, if you like Game of Thrones, then you'll love the Room of Renewal, or whatever the book is that you're working on.
Yeah, some of the influence on the story was Game of Thrones and the TV show Vikings. I don't know if any of y'all have seen that, but it was on History Channel.
In my house,
those are two pretty heavy influences. So,
and I have to tell you that I just came from New York City, and we stayed at Times Square. So, looking out the window and seeing all the things that are being advertised, the second one in the series, not Game of Thrones, but I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the one that's on right now. And I think it's on Netflix or something.
House of the Dragon, I think it's called, yeah.
So that's got a very, very big billboard in Times Square. So I can just see someday that have viewers. So you were asked this in the interview, but I didn't see your answer. But who would you see playing the part of Muriel?
That was my answer. Was I have no earthly idea, because she is very distinctive looking. She's brown, not black skin, but brown skin. She's got piercing green eyes and wild, thick black hair that goes everywhere. And at certain point in her book, something happens and she ends up having white streaks in the hair in addition to it. So there's just a lot of little things that would have to be tied in. Ingrid is 6'6" and looks like a wrestler, and she looks masculine. So that would be hard to find.
Does Ingrid have the blonde look that a lot of Swedish or Norse?
Well, she's red hair, yeah, like fire engine red hair, yeah.
Okay. Well, so there are several actresses that are popular right now that kind of fit the description that you have of Muriel, with the brown skin and the hair and all that. So I can think of several that I would recommend when you get to that point. So
gotta have the personality, though. Gotta have the personality.
Absolutely. So we have 1 minute left, actually, and I know Russell is watching the clock.
Oh, we're gonna get the stank eye from Russell. Oh man.
So Russell, any final questions from you, or Aimee, from you?
Well, he needs to tell us where the listeners can find his books and his webpage.
Thank you. I totally forgot about that. So, how do we find you, Bjorn?
If you just Google Bjorn Leesson, a lot of it'll pop up. But I'm working on a website. Amy's been helping me with it. It's not there yet, but we almost got it there.
We'll get to work.
And the book, yeah, well, and the books are on Amazon.
So. Get to work.
Hey, now we are, and we Russell. I'm just done with you. We redid his covers, got his books up. So we've.
I was just about to defend you. In Amy's defense, I am very naive about all this, so I ask a billion questions, and she spends most of her time answering my questions. So it's not.
You should
definitely
send her more emails and text.
Me and Bjorn just talk on the phone. He'll text me, and then we'll have a conversation, and then we'll go on. It's fabulous. It's fabulous. But no, Russell, it's coming. His website is up. You can go to his website. You can go on Amazon. Russell, I'm ignoring you. You can go on to Amazon and type in Bjorn Leesson, and it will pull up all of his new covers for his book. You can pre-order book 3. It comes out September 24th. And his other books are going to be up there soon, too. So make sure that you go and do that. You can see his previous interviews as well, Russell. Anyway,
Aimee does spectacular covers, so I know they're great.
When I first started reading about you, Bjorn, I thought you had 2 books. And I'm like, well, this is not a very long series. But then I'm like, oh, my God. And then I saw you had 3 or 4, and now you said you have 7. So that's a very good series.
And then there is the outside possibility of 3 more after that. I just haven't committed to those yet, but I may end up having 10. So
nice.
Into Netflix, I like something that's got several seasons, so you don't just spend all your time getting involved and then nothing. So congratulations, Bjorn! I can't wait to see you on Netflix or big screen movie theater, one or the other.
That would be awesome.
It's exciting. Well, Bjorn, thanks for taking time out of your day to come and put up with us and to talk about your books and putting up with my kids that are talking while I'm talking.
That's the best part of the show.
I can't wait till you come back in September or something.
Yeah, you are welcome back anytime, Bjorn.
I'd love to be back. This was fun, and I appreciate being invited. Thank you.
Oh, of course, anytime.
I'm a sweet guy. It's great to be around.
We hope that all of you guys have a great Monday. You know that we'll have updates next Monday and just all this craziness that's going on with all of us on here. But until then, we hope that you. She's got money.
It's awesome.
Great Monday, a great rest of the week. But until next time, bye for now, everybody.
Bye.